Do you still like the old masters? I say, I think they're wonderful. But my only justification is I do something different. You ask the old masters what they think of my things. It may be much more interesting.
You are watching Visual Independence.
On May 14, 2022, Man Ray's original and unique photographic print of the Violin de Ingres, a combination of photograph and rayograph, was auctioned for a record $12,412,500. The most expensive photograph ever to sell at auction. Created by Man Ray in 1924, this black and white photograph is one of his most distinguished works and undoubtedly one of the most famous images of the 20th century. The portrait of model, actress and muse Alice Prat, known as Kiki de Montparnasse, wearing a turban ornamented with 2 F-holes on her bare back, giving her curvaceous body the appearance of a musical instrument. Man Ray later manipulated the print in the darkroom. By using light to burn in the violin like F-holes on the model's back, Man Ray created a surrealist masterpiece. The impact and influence of this mysterious, mischievous, and experimental picture has captured people's imagination for almost 100 years. As a photographic work, it is unprecedented. At the beginning of the 20th century, photography was considered a process that depicted certain realities solely through mechanical objectivity. Man Ray, photographer, Dadaist, surrealist and luminary of the Parisian avant-garde, challenged this assumption. He did not view photography as a passive recording process but used it as a means to explore human desire, dreams, and the unconscious. In this way, he created some of the most beautiful and enigmatic images and revolutionized the traditional way of taking and viewing pictures. Man Ray used photography as a means of expressing distinct concepts. After his arrival in Paris in 1921, Man Ray experimented with the playful and flexible creation of photograms, silhouettes of 2- and 3-dimensional objects printed directly on photographic paper without the use of negatives. In addition to the flat forms that had been common for this style of print since the 19th century, he also used 3-dimensional objects that suggested a deeper detail through the casting of shadows. He fittingly termed the resulting prints rayographs. For the Violin de Ingres, Man Ray asked Kiki to tie a scarf around her head that resembled a turban. He had her pose both in profile and with her back to the camera. The second position proved more convincing, as it now looked similar to the nude in Ingres' Bathers of Vauponson. Man Ray envisioned a combination of his 2 passions. The romantic relationship with model and muse Kiki, the Queen de Montparnasse, nicknamed for her affiliation with the bohemian circles of the Montparnasse district of Paris, and his admiration for the French artist Jean-Auguste Monique Ingres. The title Violin de Ingres references the artist's ambitions as a violinist, who wanted the public to notice not only his prodigious talents as a painter but also his proficiency in playing the violin. Man Ray considered photography to be his very own Violin de Ingres, a means by which he recorded his work along with that of his friends, without wanting to associate it exclusively with his artistic practice. By burning mimicked F-holes on the back of the model, Man Ray ingeniously fuses Ingres' identity as a painter with the image of a violin, while at the same time linking his activity as a photographer. The legendary photograph was created by combining the image he made of Kiki and the F-holes created with the rayograph method. At first, Man Ray cut out the corrugated holes from a conventional cardboard. Then he placed a piece of photographic paper under his enlarger, put the template over it, switched on the light and branded the shape of the 2 F-holes. A relatively long exposure had the holes become a perfect black. After removing the stencil, he placed Kiki's negative in the negative holder of his enlarger and made a second exposure onto the same photographic sheet. When the photo was enlarged, Kiki's back was magically merged with the F-holes. The result was a unique print of the motif fusing traditional darkroom methods with his rayograph technique. The Violin de Ingres first appeared in June 1924 in the last issue of Literature by André Breton, a magazine that spread the ideas of Dadaism and shaped the emergence of Surrealism. To reproduce the work, Man Ray photographed the finished one-of-a-kind piece with a 5 by 7-inch camera to create a copy negative, which today is on display at the Centre Pompidou in Paris. All subsequent prints, including the 1965 edition of 3 copies with hand-drawn lines resembling a guitar, the 1970 edition of 8 gelatin silver prints and various later color lithographs, all authorized by Man Ray, were made from this copy negative. The original first print is commonly known as the Jacobs print, a reference to its first owners, art collectors Rosalind and Melvin Jacobs, who acquired the work directly from Man Ray. Rosalind Jerston first met Man Ray when she visited his retrospective in 1962. She was so fascinated by the violin d'Ingres that she immediately purchased it directly from him. Ingres' violin has been imitated time and again and continues to inspire countless contemporary artists to this day.
I was wandering through a photographic exhibit in a museum in New York, and I saw a smaller version of the Violon d'Ingres, and it said, original silver print, Man Ray. I immediately wrote to Man and said, "Man, you told me I had the only original. How many more of these are around?" And he wrote back and he said, "I always take a negative of work that I have done, and I've reproduced a few of them. They're much smaller. Be assured you have the only original."
In 1973, an exhibition was dedicated to Man Ray in Turin. The gallery used the Ingres for the poster, on which Man Ray wrote, "To create is divine. To reproduce is human."